Good morning, Anna and Sneak Attackers. It's Tuesday, June 29th. And it's high time I finished talking about my ideas on how to help the Earth not get dead by conserving water. As you may recall from my last video, which you can view here, I think that water is super important and it's high time we started saving some of it. So I want to talk about conserving water specifically with regards to reducing, reusing, and recycling. So in my personal opinion, the three big main uses of water, direct consumption, as in drinking or giving it to pets to drink or watering your aloe vera plants.
Nope, haven't done that in a while.
And cooking and cleaning. Let's talk about recycling water first because that's the most straightforward thing, I think. Basically, if we're recycling water, we really just want to make sure that all of it ends up back in the water table eventually. All we really have to do is make sure it doesn't get trapped in a plastic bag that will take millions of years to biodegrade. Recycling of water refers not only to pouring the leftover water you boiled those potatoes in down the drain so that the water goes back into the water table and you can mash those potatoes into a delicious starch-filled meal, but also making sure you don't throw away cups full of ice because that water is never going to get back into the water table, basically. And on top of that, if you have foods that are kind of high in moisture content, which could be any meats that are not beef jerky, or fruits or vegetables, or very many things that are not granola, you want to make sure that the water from those foods gets back into the water table too, which is the beauty of both garbage disposals and composting. And then there's reusing, which is another kind of pretty straightforward one. Basically, it's okay to boil something in the same water you've already used. If you've boiled some hot dogs, you can probably still boil some eggs in that water too. If you boil a lot of stuff. I think that more refers to if you're giving your child a bath, you can probably use the same bath water for the second child as long as the first child didn't like poop in it. But the most vitally important way that we can actually conserve water is by conserving water. If we just reduce our consumption, then we don't have to worry so much about reusing everything over and over. But we should still definitely reuse water when we can. One of the most practical ways to reduce our water consumption is by getting low flow shower heads and toilets so that every time we use water, we're using less of it to start out with. And a caveat to that is that when we are running water, we need to make sure that we're not just running it. So if you're waiting for your water in your sink to heat up so you can wash some dishes, you need to do something with the cold water so it's not just going totally to waste. I don't know if you're aware of this, but according to whatever site it was that came up towards the top when I Googled it, the average 10-minute shower can use up to 42 gallons of water, depending on your shower head. Now, we can greatly reduce that by just cutting down the amount of the time in those 10 minutes of showering that water is actually running. As I get myself all covered in water, and then I turn the water off and I shampoo. And then I turn it on and rinse. And I turn it off again and I soap up. And I turn it on and I rinse. In the end, one of the most dramatic ways that we can conserve water is related to how much water actually gets flushed every time you flush a toilet. Any toilet made before 1994 in the US flushed at least 3.4 gallons of water. I don't know about you, Anna, but I know that the toilets in my apartment are definitely at least as old as, the year I went to kindergarten. So when replacing a toilet with a lower flowing toilet isn't really feasible, because let's face it, we don't own the places we live in and we don't have that kind of money because we're college students. One thing that we can do to cut down just a little bit on how much water we're just flushing away every day is to pee in the shower. I know, it sounds totally gross, right? It does sound gross when you say it out loud. But if you think about it, it's really not that big of a deal. Urine is 95% water, and that's mostly due to the way that mammals evolved with our waste systems. And that 5% that is not water in your urine is actually urea, dissolved salts, and organic compounds like ammonia, which, by the way, we use to clean stuff. Ammonia is toxic if you're going to drink it, but man, does it kill bacteria. And then the other part of that 5% of your urine that is not water is urea, which is a compound that is neither acidic nor alkaline, but neutral, much like water. And sneak attackers, that's all I really have to say about saving the environment by conserving water. I hope nobody thinks I'm totally gross because I'm a proponent of saving water by peeing in the shower. But if you do think I'm gross for that, I would like to point out that I never actually admitted that I pee in the shower. I just said it's a good idea to save water. And on that note, Anna and sneak attackers, I'll see you next time.